Okay, good evening. This is Professor David J. De Los Reyes. Okay, it's October 27, 2023, and the time is 9:08 p.m. Okay, my subject matter for tonight will be trigonometry, and we are now on lesson number 12. The subject matter for tonight will be a very interesting one. In real life, has some real applications, like in the so-called study of surveying. Or this will be needed by surveyors of land. Okay, and the other application for the topic for tonight will be in the so-called navigation. Navigation meaning it is used by airplanes to find the location of an enemy on the air. Okay, let's proceed. The subject matter for tonight is a long video format discussion, and this will now be lesson number 12. This trigonometry lesson number 12. And the title of the topic will be bearing of a line. If you are not an engineer, okay, and you hear the word bearing, you might get a complicated explanations and what is bearing. But under the study of trigonometry, just to understand bearing in layman's language, this should be the definition of a bearing. So the concept of bearing is this one. If we see bearing and trigonometry, okay, the bearing of a line is the angle which the line makes with the north or south direction. Okay, it is read either from north or south and toward east or west. Okay, we have the direction here. This is north, which is upward. South is actually downward, considering the board, right? And on the left, it's the west direction. And on the right, it's actually the east direction. This is a plane, right? So if we try to indicate the bearing of a line, we got 4 lines here. The origin is marked as O, meaning this is origin, right? So actually we got 3 lines over here. With respect to the origin, we got 4 lines. Line OA, line OB, line OC, and line OD. If we try to specify the bearing of these 4 lines, okay, we will be basing our what you call this indication of the bearing using the definition. So if we see bearing, okay, it is an angle with respect to the north, which is going upward. Okay, the reference of a bearing could either be north or the downward part south. Okay, and it either go to the so-called east direction or west direction. Okay, so it's an easy one. The reading of a bearing is actually with respect to the north and south direction. In how to read it, it will either go to the east or to the west. This is west, this is east. Okay. Oh, that's the good illustration of a bearing. Later on, I will show you how to read the bearing of the 4 lines OA, OB, OC, and OD. So I will try to repeat again the definition of a bearing. The bearing of a line is the angle which the line makes with either the north or the south. And the proper way on how to read it, it is read either from north the reference is always the north or south. Okay, that's the reference. It is read either from north or south towards the east or east. Okay, so there are two variations on how to read a bearing. If the bearing is referred to the north direction, okay, the upward part, this should be the reference line. And to specify the bearing of this, with reference to the north, it should either go east or west. Okay? If the bearing is actually referred to with the south direction, the one that goes down, it's either go to the east or west. Okay, so there are two variations. If the reference line is the north direction, okay, you will start your reading from the north direction. It either go to the east or west. If the reference line is actually the south direction, again, how to read it, it either go to the east or to the west. So there are two variations. Okay, let's try to bring out the application first before I will try to illustrate how to read the bearing of this line. See? The application of a bearing in real life is actually in surveying and the so-called navigation. Navigation, this is used by airplanes to locate an enemy, okay, if they are on the air. Because if you are on the air, excuse me, if you are on the air, the reference point is actually the center of the airplane. So if you try to specify the location of your enemy, it's either to the right, to the left, or it could be your backward portion, right? The backward portion is actually the south direction. It could either be that the enemy will be coming from here or the enemy will be coming from here. Okay, so if you got your instrument on the airplane, you could specify the bearing of an incoming airplane which will try to shoot you down. It's either on the first quadrant here, second quadrant, or on your back direction, the fourth quadrant, or the so-called third quadrant. So actually, to specify the location of these enemy planes, we specify those ones using bearing. Like this one here, if the airplane here is here, if we try to specify the location of this, okay, what is it is in front, okay, it is in front and to your right. So if you try to specify the bearing of the incoming airplane, it should be north 60 degrees east. I think this 60 degrees will come out on your instruments. Okay? So you could actually specify. So if you try to shoot down the incoming airplane, at least you now know the bearing. Okay? And the missiles that is defending you may be directed 60 degrees to the east. Right? So that's the importance of bearing and the so-called navigation. To identify the location of incoming airplanes, which is either friendly or unfriendly, right? So there are four variations on how to locate a friendly or unfriendly airplane on the air. It could either be in this direction, it is towards your back going to the east, or towards the back going to the west. And the way and how to specify their locations is actually through the use of so-called definition of bearing. Okay. The illustration of a bearing with regards to surveying is something like this. If we got a post here, and we would like to identify the location of a next post, maybe you are doing a fencing, right? So you try to locate the different location of the post before you put your fencing. So if this is your initial location, and this is supposed to be the next location of the post that you will be erecting, okay? It is necessary that you should know the bearing of this one, the bearing of the second post with respect to the location of the surveyor. Okay, so this will be north, this is south, this is east, this is west. So if this is the second post, right? This is the angle which the second post makes with the north. So if we try to specify the location of this, we'll be needing this angle here, and this angle here is actually a bearing. You got it? Okay. Surveyors could measure this one, so they could specify the location of this. After specifying the location of the bearing, okay, and at least you know how long will be the pens that will be needed, okay, you specify the bearing and you mark the second post with the bearing north 45 degrees. So that's the importance of the bearing and surveying. The second one, like what I said in the so-called navigation, if this is the friendly plane and the incoming plane or the enemy plane is coming from the right on the first quadrant, okay, if this is north, okay, if we try to specify the location of the enemy plane, okay, we will be presenting the bearing, okay, commensurate to it. So it should be north, 45 degrees should be north with respect to the north. It is in front, right? And it is to the right, north. And the angle which this enemy plane makes with the north direction is 40, assuming it's 45 degrees, it should be north, 45 degrees. This is east direction. It is on your right. So the bearing should be north 45 degrees east. I think this will come out on the instrument of the airplane. Okay? So actually, you can specify the exact location of incoming enemy plane which might shoot you down. So the importance of the so-called programming of the instruments on the airplane, okay, to calculate the bearing automatically. That's why there is the so-called fifth generation fighter planes now, okay? The software that is being used here is actually very fast, and they could calculate so many things in so short a time. So this bearing north 45 degrees might come out on the instrument at the airplane. And where this one emanates, it's trigonometry. So the programming of the what they call this instrument of an airplane is actually based on trigonometry. So trigonometry is actually very important. Okay, let's try to bring out how to illustrate or indicate a bearing. Or like this one here. This is our direction: north, south, west, east. I will be presenting 4 lines here. Line OA, it is this. Line OB, it is this. Line OC, it is this. And line OD, it is this. Okay, let's try to bring out the bearing of the 4 lines using the definition of a bearing. If we try to bring out the bearing of OA, okay, the reference direction should be north. So the bearing OA bearing, the reference should be north, right? So the first letter here will be north. And what is the angle that the line OA makes with the north? It is 60 degrees, right? It is 60 degrees. And which direction does the 60 degrees go? Is it either towards the west or east? It is east. So this is east. So if we try to bring out the bearing of OA, okay, it should be north, 60 degrees going to the east. So this is the bearing of OA. Right? It's easy. How about line OB? Line OB is this one here. 0, this is B. Line OB. The reference direction of line OB, if we try to specify the bearing, it will still be north. So this is north. And what is the angle which line OB makes with reference to the north? It is 30 degrees, right? 30 degrees. It was specified 30 degrees, so this is 30 degrees. And what is the direction in which this 30 degrees go with respect to the north? It goes to the left, and this is south. So this should be south. So the bearing of OB now should be north, 30 degrees west. As simple as that one. Okay? It is an angle which the line makes with respect to the north or south, and it either go to the east or east. That's the definition of a bearing. Okay, we'll go to line OC. OC is this one, the one in the third quadrant. The reference direction of this OC here, it will not be north. It should be south. Right? It should be south. So the first letter here, instead of north, it should be south. Right? It is downward, south. And what is the angle which this line OC makes with reference to south? It is 30 degrees. So the angle here is 30 degrees. Right? The reference line is the south direction. It goes 30 degrees, okay? And what's the direction? It is west. It is not east, it is west. So this is west. So the bearing of line OC should be south. The reference line is south, the one that goes downward. The angle which this line OC makes originating from the south direction is actually 30 degrees, and the direction is actually to the west. So this is west. So the bearing of OC should be south, 30 degrees west. Okay. How about line OD? Line OD is this one, the one on the fourth quadrant. Okay. The reference line or direction of OD, it will not be north, it will still be south because it is going down. Right? This down. So the reference direction of OD should be south. Okay, and what is the angle in which this line OD makes with reference to the south? It is 15 degrees. It is 15 degrees. Right? And what direction is this 15 degrees go? Is it to the west or east? It is east. So this is east. So the bearing of OD now, the line OD, should be south, 15 degrees east. South, 15 degrees east. Okay, that's the way how to specify a bearing. It's either with reference to the north direction or south direction, and it will either read going to the east or to the east. Okay, that's it, guys. That's how to specify of a bearing of any object with reference to the given reference point. The reference point is actually the intersection of the north and south direction and the west and east direction. That's the origin. This origin may be, considering an airplane, this should be the cockpit. Cockpit. It is the location of the pilot, right? So the pilot would know in which direction will the enemy will be coming in. Is it coming in from the right or from the left? Okay? Or is it coming in from the back to the right or to the left? Okay? So actually I've been hearing that cockpits are actually, the pilot could see in all directions, 360 degrees. So wherever an airplane, enemy plane will be coming in, it will be indicated on the instrument of the airplane. Okay, the friendly plane. It's either coming from the right to the left, considering the north direction, or coming from the right, or considering the back direction. The back direction is actually the south direction, and the north direction is actually the north direction, forward direction. Okay, that's it, guys. That's the way how to bring out or indicate the bearing of any line with respect to the origin. Okay, good evening from Los Angeles, Professor David.